Expected points, clean sheet odds, and who is the best captain. This video has got all of the information you need to know ahead of game week 9. All right, I'm going to do what I usually do in all of these Ultimate Guide videos. We're going to go through each position and we're going to look at the top players for expected points. The way I do this is I look at one game week in time and then 5. And in some positions, I filter by price as well because I think it's quite useful to see how some of the cheaper players in each position are looking as well. We're starting off here with goalkeepers. And by the way, before I go any further, all of the expected points data you're going to see in this video, unless advertised otherwise, comes from Fantasy Football Hub. If you want to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub, see all of this data for yourself, and you can do so using the link top of the description below. So we've got goalkeepers for game week 9 kicking things off, and the top goalkeeper is David Raya, 4.3 predicted points, both Raya and Sanchez on 4.3, so joint top keepers, and I think they're probably the two most popular goalkeepers in the game right now. I think Arsenal are the best defence in the league. We'll get to clean sheet odds as we move through the video, but I think they're the best defence in the league. Crystal Palace are a good side, but I still, just with how strong they are defensively, I'd back Arsenal to almost keep a clean sheet against anyone. So a clean sheet against Crystal Palace at home, I would not rule out for them. Second, we got Rob Sanchez. Chelsea, heavily backed defensively by Fantasy Football Hub against Sunderland. Sunderland, I think, are probably the best of the 3 promoted teams, but I do think Chelsea have looked fairly solid defensively in recent fixtures. And I just feel it's at Stamford Bridge. They are just hard to break down and beat. Sam Johnson, first time I've ever seen him appear on this list. He's got Burnley at home as his fixture, so a promoted team's always going to push him up. And then Nick Pope's got Fulham at home. I think, for me, 2 best goalkeepers in the game are probably still Nick Pope and Raya, regardless of the result that Newcastle just had against Brighton in game week 8. Then Mamardashvili, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, the backup Liverpool goalkeeper. At 4.3 million, he's good value, but it's just a case of when Alisson comes back, right? Because obviously Alisson is still the #1 goalkeeper at Liverpool, and Mamardashvili is only going to be in the team until he comes back. So that's a view of the top 5 goalkeepers for game week 9. And then just to look ahead at 5 game weeks. So I think it's always best, when making a transfer decision in FPL, you don't want to just do it looking at 1 game week, right? 1 game week is quite useful when you're looking at maybe who to start or just out of interest. But I would say if you're making a transfer in FPL, you want to do it with at least 3 to 5 game weeks in mind. Obviously, depending on your chip strategy, you might be on a 1-week punt, but if you're making a 1-week punt, don't think you do that on your keeper. David Raya is the top goalkeeper for the next 5. Mamardashvili is second. Obviously, that all depends on when Alisson's back. Rob Sanchez third, Donnarumma 4th, and Nick Pope in 5th. Now, Raya's probably the clear outstanding goalkeeper. Between the rest, between all 5 of these goalkeepers, there's 2 points in the next 5 weeks in terms of what they're predicted to get, which I think is really close, right? So there's not a whole lot of difference. I think Raya's my the clear favourite, and I personally back that. He is, 5.7 million is obviously a lot of money. So it's just a question of, at what point does a goalkeeper in the game become too expensive? But I think he's proven the value so far. So yeah, that's just a view of the top goalkeepers for the next 5. Defenders are quite interesting viewing. So Gabriel is #1. He's obviously, I think he is just the best defender in the game, right? 31.9% owned. I imagine most people watching this video have him in their team, right? I think that's fair enough. He is the best defender. He's one that can get attacking returns. Obviously picked up an assist against Fulham. Clean sheets. He got a clean sheet against Fulham. And DEFCONs. I'm pretty sure did he hit DEFCON or came very close against Fulham? But he could get returns through all of the means for a defender, right? So naturally he's top. And then you've got 4 Chelsea defenders after that. For some reason, the Fantasy Football Hub algorithm is loving the Chelsea defence. So against Sunderland, they're predicted to do really well. Cucurella the best, followed by Tosin, Reece James, and Chalobah. So I really like Chalobah because I just think he's the most nailed of all the Chelsea. Well, obviously Cucurella is, but he's expensive. I do quite like Chalobah at that price. I think, for me, I really like him as an option. I thought it'd be useful to filter on the cheap defenders as well. So I've gone 5 million and below. Tosin, 4.4 million. It's just whether he's going to play every game for Chelsea. But if he does, he's really good value at that price. Senesi's up there. He's 5 million now, but he's DEFCON's pretty much every game. I think given the current situation around Nottingham Forest, there's a pretty decent chance that Bournemouth could keep a clean sheet in that game. Tior of Newcastle, up until at least game week 8, Newcastle were the top team in the league, the best team for conceding the lowest amount of expected goals conceded. He's got Fulham. Matthijs de Ligt currently keeping a clean sheet against Liverpool. Quite how long that lasts for, I'm not sure. And then Krejci, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, of Wolves. This guy, I think he's almost scored 50 career goals. And I'm pretty sure he's playing as a centre midfielder for Wolves. So you got a 4.5 million defender against Burnley, playing in the centre of midfield, 0.1% owned. He's an interesting option. But yeah, that's your top cheap defenders. Over the next 5 game weeks, again, going back to what I said about the goalkeepers, you want to really make a transfer decision with more than one game week in mind. Gabriel is top, followed by Cucurella. Then you got Timber. I think, to be honest, this list of top defenders for predicted points largely aligns to my personal opinion. I think these are probably the best defenders in the game. Couple of Chelsea. Obviously, if Tosin plays the games, I do expect him to be good. Timber, he's not quite as good as Gabriel, I don't think, but you're not paying as much. It's almost $500,000 cheaper. I think Timber's a good option. And then Munoz, who, as you all know, basically plays as a winger for Crystal Palace. And despite having what is quite possibly the toughest game you could get in the league at the moment, Arsenal away in game week 9, he's still the 5th best defender in the game for predicted points. So yeah, that's your top defenders. Midfielders, I mean, it's no real surprise. He hasn't scored yet against Man United. I think the performance he puts in against Man United might be quite big in terms of his future in people's FPL teams, to be honest. Is Salah. He's top. It's followed by Saka, Bruno Fernandes, Semenyo, and Ahmad, who has had a really bright game so far against Liverpool. I'd be largely inclined to agree with this, probably with the exception of Ahmad. I reckon, well, he obviously scored the goal. I think Mbeumo, if you're picking a Man United midfielder, I think the second best one is Mbeumo over Ahmad. And then you've still got the likes of Iliman and Njai and just other players that I think are better than him. But the top 4, I think I largely agree with. Bruno Fernandes should have got a goal as well against Liverpool in the game that is on at the moment. Yeah, I think these are the 4 best midfielders in the game. I don't need to say too much more than that. In fact, actually, one thing to say on Bruno Fernandes and Saka. Bruno Fernandes, I think, owners have been really unlucky with the chances he's missed, the penalties he's missed, and how close he's come to DEFCON on some occasions. I think he's had a decent season, and he's just not pulled off the FPL points, but I think he's putting up all the signs that he's still a good option in the game. And Saka, he scored 7 points in scored a penalty in game week 7. After the international break in 8, he scored 7 points in a single game, and he didn't get an attack in return. He got that through bonus points, DEFCON, and keeping a clean sheet. So, he's a good option, I think, is Saka. And I would argue probably the best Arsenal attacker over Gyökeres. I think I might be moving towards Saka myself in game week 9. In terms of cheap midfielders, well, obviously Ahmad's going to be top because he appeared top on that list, but Iliman and Njai is very close. I really like Iliman and Njai as an option, obviously on penalties for Everton. But I have noticed whenever I've watched Everton, he's looked just extremely effective from attacking positions. He doesn't get a whole lot of touches on the ball, but when he does, he really makes the most of them. He looks like a really good player. He's got Tottenham. Declan Rice, I think he's just going to get steady attacking returns in DEFCON every game. If Enzo Fernandez is fit, I think he's a good option, but obviously that's the question. Is he going to be fit? He's on penalties for Chelsea with no Cole Palmer and set pieces as well. And then we got Szoboszlai. I'm not sure I would be picking Szoboszlai in the game. For the next 5 weeks, well, Salah is top, followed by Saka, Semenyo, Bruno Fernandes, and Iliman Njai. And I'm pretty happy to say that my FPL midfield, hopefully, come Game Week 9, is going to have 4 of these 5 players. I just don't think, at the moment, Salah is quite worth it. I don't think the fixtures are good enough, and I don't think he or Liverpool have been good enough to justify picking him in your team at that price point. But he is still the top midfielder for predicted points. Saka, Semenyo, Bruno Fernandes, and again, I go back to Iliman Njai. He is the 5th top midfielder for predicted points over the next 5. Forwards then. Is anyone really going to be surprised after the start of the season that he's had to see Haaland number 1? Aston Villa away, I still think is not a bad fixture. João Pedro has been a bit disappointing in recent weeks, but Sunderland at home, not a bad fixture. I do think he will be fairly heavily sold ahead of Game Week 9. So whether he retains that 7.6 million price tag remains to be seen. I just have a feeling a lot of people are going to just rush him out because of their impatience. Isak, jury's still a little bit out on him for me. We'll see, of course, though, how he gets on against United. He's still going, hasn't scored yet. Watkins, he was benched when he against Tottenham, but struggling with an injury. And then Gyökeres. I think what this is suggesting to me is it's just a shortage of forwards, really. Not really many forwards that I want to pick from. And I mentioned this on my buy and avoid video actually, but I think the current probably meta demographic, whatever you want to say, of the game is probably to only have 2 forwards. And actually, my second best forward alongside Haaland right now, probably Jean-Philippe Mateta. Obviously playing Arsenal away, tough fixture, he's not going to appear on this list, but I think I'd go for him. Cheap forwards, well, we've got Raul Jimenez. Hopefully he's back fit for Game Week 9. Strand Larson, Calvert-Lewin, Thiago and Isidore. I like Thiago. Still like Strand Larson. He didn't do anything in Game Week 8, but I still quite rate him as an option because he'll play every minute of every game and take penalties. He's surely going to score some goals just by proxy of ticking those boxes. Over the next 5 game weeks, it is good to see Mateta there. I said I think he's my second favourite forward alongside Haaland, and the hub algorithm backs that up. It's obviously the Arsenal away fixture that lets him down, but then the rest of the fixtures after that look really good. What's that? Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, Man United. You could see him scoring in all those games. And I'm pretty sure as well he will take penalties for Crystal Palace. Now, I mentioned clean sheet odds, and we've got some here courtesy of Solio. Not really many massive surprises in this data, but it does suggest that Arsenal is just by far and away the best defence in the league. In all but 1 game week over the next 10, they have above 40% likelihood to keep a clean sheet, which is madness. Man City, there or thereabouts. Liverpool, I'm not too convinced by the Liverpool defence. Newcastle, I think my overarching point about Newcastle is that at home, I think they can beat and keep a clean sheet against anyone. I always say this against Newcastle or about them because St James's Park is just a special place for them to play. But when they're away from home, I just don't really back them. Chelsea are there or thereabouts. Few games here or there. Game week 10, 13 and 15 and 17 by the looks of it, where their odds are pretty tough. But outside of that, they're all above 30%. Crystal Palace, obviously they're playing Arsenal in 9, but after that their fixtures are good. I think they got good clean sheet odds. Bournemouth are up there as well. A couple of good fixtures in there for Fulham and Everton. Worst teams, well, West Ham are still there. Sunderland, Burnley, Wolves, and obviously Nottingham Forest. Those are your sort of worst defensive teams. So maybe those are the teams to target. This data obviously is from Rob T FPL on X and from Solio. I'll leave a link to Solio in the description below. I thought to round off the video, I did it last week, people really welcomed it, was just to put some Solio predictions in there as well. So we looked at some Fantasy Football Hub projected points, and I thought just to contrast, to see another source, I think it's always good to just put multiple sources of data together. This is what Solio thinks in terms of projected points. Interesting. Salah is the top player for projected points for the next 5 game weeks on average. In game week 9, 10, 12 and 13, he is the best captain, which is interesting. Not sure I fully back that based on what I've seen from Salah so far this season, but that's what Solio was saying. Then you got Haaland, Saka, Bruno Fernandes, João Pedro. Isak, if he gets the minutes. Gyökeres, well, thing is, Isak, at 10.6 million, he's getting less projected points over the next 5 weeks than Iliman and Jai. So it probably suggests he's not worth the money. Gyökeres, probably not worth 9.1 million. Enzo Fernandez, if he plays, I think he's going to be really good. Semenyo, Gabriel, the only defender on this list, so I think that sort of backs up the fact he's the best defender in the game. And then Mbumo, who I actually really don't mind as a Man United asset, just in case, obviously, he doesn't take their penalties. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope, as usual, you enjoyed that and found it useful. If you did, please leave us a like rating. Let me know in the comments if there's any players we didn't discuss or cover there that you're looking to buy for Game Week 9. Yeah, I'd be interested to know. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. It should be about there on your screen. And yeah, that is everything. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.